You are watching Our Take, and today we wrap up our week-long series, Our Money, which is dedicated to help you make sense out of your money. And today, the money coach, Lynnette Khalfani-Cox, the author of Zero Debt, The Ultimate Guide to Financial Freedom, joins us. Lynnette, all week long, we have actually been hearing from viewers, and they have plenty of questions about what to do with their money, how to make more money. Let's listen in, and I'll have you respond on the back end.
I really don't know what I'm going to do when it comes to retirement because I don't have enough money set aside. What should I do about that?
Hello, hi, my name is Sandra, and I was wondering how can I minimize my school loan debt?
Is a big question. Both really good questions. Retirement, making sure that there's enough there when you do eventually retire, and student loan debt. And you're here to talk about that.
That's right. And both of those topics, as you said, are weighty subjects because the first woman, I think, highlighted a problem for a lot of folks, which is I didn't save enough. I didn't plan adequately. And so a lot of people, unfortunately, really are going to have to work a lot longer. Some people are going to have part-time jobs that maybe they hadn't anticipated. Other people are going to have to think about certain investment products that might give them an income stream over the course of their lives. Some people think, oh, I'm not going to live that long. I'm not going to worry about it. But that's not the approach, obviously, that you should take. You really should be thinking, I could live into my 80s and 90s. When you look at advances in science and medicine and technology, people are living a lot longer. On the student loan front, this is a huge problem, especially here in America, where we've got over $1 trillion with a T, not a couple billion, $1 trillion in student loan debt, more than credit card debt, more than a whole bunch of other debts, you know, personal loans and car loans, stuff like that. And I think the issue for a lot of people there is, first, we need to stop letting our young people take on this debt in the first place. And then you need to think about the right types of loans if you do need to borrow for college. I always tell people, federal loans first as opposed to private student loans because they have better loan rates, they have better loan forgiveness options, better cancellation options for some people, and better deferment and forbearance options as well.
You have a strategy in terms of dealing with debt. You, in step one, you say you have to write down exactly what you owe. Now, I'm curious, though, what you owe. Credit card? Are you saying include your house note, your car note? Is it everything, or is it a particular type of loan or debt that you first tally up?
Sure. I think for a lot of people, they should start with the credit card debt because that's sort of, you know, the sort of shackle around a lot of people. Again, many people have student loans, mortgage debt, auto loans, payday loans, you name it. A lot of folks have debt. But at the very least, I think you should start with the credit card debt because a lot of people, frankly, put their heads in the sand. They want to play the ostrich game. They're like, I don't want to know. I don't want to see this. You know, they've gone for so long without really looking at the numbers in black and white. But frankly, if you really want to get out of debt, you have to know, what am I working with here? What's the actual problem? Most people guesstimate. A lot of people write me, they go to my site, askthemoneycoach.com, and they say, how can I get rid of my credit card bills, Lynnette? Tell me what strategies I should use. And so one of my first questions is, okay, tell me the extent of the problem. Is it 8,000 or is it 80,000? Is it 22,000?
Do they know?
Most people absolutely do not. They guesstimate. They say, I think it's about, 15,000 or so. When they actually write it down, they find, oh my God, it's more like $24,000. And sometimes people are pleasantly surprised. They might go, I thought I had about, 20,000, and then it's maybe 13 or so because they just haven't been keeping up with the numbers.
So you start with write down what you owe, but then you say pay off those credit cards with lower balances first than those with the higher dollar balance?
Right, or those with the high interest rates as well. So this is a strategy that I recommend based on personal experience, having once been in $100,000 in credit card debt back in 2001.
What were you buying?
I know, it's crazy to admit, and it's the, we'll talk about that too. I've fessed up, so. But back in 2001, I had $100,000 in credit card debt. Fortunately, I was able to pay it all off in 3 years. I never missed a single payment.
How in the world?
And then I wrote this book about it called Zero Debt. It became a New York Times bestseller. It's done phenomenally well. For a lot of people, though, the reason I suggest, contrary to what a lot of personal finance experts say, the reason I suggest starting with your low dollar balances first is I want to give people an emotional jump start. I want to keep them psychologically motivated to pay off the debt. 99 out of 100 financial experts will say pay off your high interest rate credit card debt first. I understand the mechanics behind that strategy. They're trying to get you to pay fewer dollars in the long run and reduce your interest costs. Needless to say, mathematically, that makes sense. For real folks, though, in a common sense, practical way, it actually doesn't work for many people. Because when you're paying that high interest rate debt first, your balances are barely budging. So you might have $8,000 on one credit card, you're paying a $200 a monthly payment. You've done that for 3 or 4 months, and the next thing you know, you look up, that balance has only gone down by like $120 or something.
And that has happened
and you get
to me.
depressed about it, you know?
That has happened to me.
So they don't
progress.
stick with the plan. So when you attack the low dollar balance cards first, at least you can knock that card out, and it gives you emotional satisfaction and the will to sort of keep going with the plan.
I was actually in that boat. I'm just putting all my business out there.
Put it out there. I put mine out there. So
I'm up next because we're going to talk about student loans.
Okay.
Had a $10,000 credit card bill. I was around, let's say, $9,500 or so. Was paying $365 a month, and the following month, instead of my balance being reduced $300 or even $200, it was reduced only about $75.
I know, because most of that money was going towards the interest, unfortunately. And this is another strategy that I recommend to people because most people don't get it, how the credit card system works and how banks are obviously making their money off of you. You never want to just pay minimum payments. I teach people in my workshops, minimum payments now in the short run really mean maximum payments in the long run, because credit card companies only ask you to pay about 2% of the outstanding balance. That keeps them rich, but it keeps you in debt and broke month after month, year after year. You must exceed the minimum payment. I don't care if you can only put $25, $50, $100 extra towards it. Personally, I recommend you try to put 2 times the minimum payment, or maybe 3 times if you can stretch and do it, because that will get you out of debt a lot more quickly.
So you've gone through a few steps. You write down what you owe, pay off credit cards. You also talk about exceed minimum payments, but you also suggest negotiating with your creditors and give your budget an overhaul.
Right. A lot of people don't know you can do this, but yes, you can pick up the phone, call your credit card company and say, listen, I've been a customer for X years, 3 years, 5 years, 17 years, whatever it is. Can you offer me a better rate? You can even let them know, I just received a competitive offer in the mail from, XYZ company, another brand, another company that's issued a credit card. Can you match or beat this rate? A lot of times they'll want to keep you as their customers, so they will match or beat that offer, especially if you've been a good customer in terms of paying on time, even if it's just been minimum payments, but you've been actually paying and handling your debt. They'll lower your interest rate. One study was done that found that 75% of all customers who call and ask for a lower interest rate actually get it right there on the spot.
I'm going to call today.
So that's yours for the asking.
I'm going to say Lynnette told me to.
Exactly.
Lynnette said that I could ask for a better interest rate. I'm going to hold you to that.
And you know what else? If you have a credit card company that won't budge, who's to say you can't bounce?
That's right.
There are so many credit card offers. Literally, there are billions of solicitations that get sent out. Companies doing balance transfer offers, 0% offers, et cetera. Anytime you can nab one of those deals, if you're paying, say, 15% on your credit card and you've got, $10,000 in debt, well, okay, you're going to pay $1,500 in interest over the year for that. So if you get a 0% year-long balance transfer offer, you've just saved yourself $1,500. So take one of those deals. I tell people, listen, if a creditor won't budge, be willing, consider the possibility of transferring that balance and taking your business elsewhere.
And you bring up a really good point of being really proactive and reaching out to these lenders, specifically for people like me who are students. I'm a part-time student anyway, and have to take out student loans. Of course, the federal government unsubsidized, which was the only one available for graduate students. But I ask you this because unlike other loans, car loans and mortgages, you can't write this off in bankruptcy.
Absolutely.
Like this is following you the rest of your life. Like there's a quote about how in life, death and taxes are the only things that are certain. I wish they would add student loans
to the mix. Yeah, you're right.
Right.
You're so right.
Sally Mae's going.
Right. Sally Mae and the DOE are on my cell phone. Like, what do we got to do this month?
Exactly.
So, but it's not that bad. But I mean, a lot of times people want to consolidate and be able to minimize their loan payments. But what would you say to people who are going to have to deal with this for the next 10, maybe even 15 years?
Right. Well, I tell people, first of all, don't be depressed about it. And literally, I've talked to people who are suicidal about it. They are really fraught over it because student loan debt is impacting people in so many ways. It's affecting people's life choices. They call student loan debt now the anti-dowry. It's like nobody wants to hook up with you, nobody wants to marry you if you got all that debt because it's
well,
like
I'm out of luck.
Yeah.
No, but it's manageable though.
But I mean, for some people, look, here are the stats. Right now, the average college graduate from the U.S. comes out of school with about $25,000 in student loan debt. Those who go to graduate school tack on another $20,000 or so, $30,000. It's not at all uncommon for people who go to med school and law school to have 6 figures worth of debt, $100,000. Now, we're talking about a group of young people, 20-something, 30-something perhaps.
That are paying for this.
They've got a mortgage on their backs just coming out of school. So
The good news for you, Lynnette,
Yeah.
you will always be busy.
Yeah, well, that is
Plenty
true.
of
I have
clients.
some advice to give.
Yeah.
But, you know, I tell people, don't be depressed about it and know that there are options out there. You've got to seek out some of those things that I mentioned, forbearance, deferments, things of that nature.
All right, thank you so much, Lynnette Khalfani-Cox, the money coach, telling it like it is. And keep it right here. I'm Christina Brown, and you are watching Our Take on Arise TV.